Next is now we are going to discuss some topic. So we are going to discuss some topic here. Okay. I will discuss. So hilly and difficult terrain, low population is not the population high population density is not the but low population density is there, strategic location is there, economic infrastructure backwardness is there along the border with neighboring country and non-viable nature of a state. So benefits confer to the state with a special category. So benefits is hilly and difficult terrain, low population density is not there, and the central government bear 90% of the state expenditure on all centrally sponsored scheme and external aids, while rest 10% is given to the loan to the state at 0% rate of interest. Preferential treatment in getting control funds. So concession of excise duty to attract industry to the state. 30% of the center gross budget also goes to the special category states, and these states can avail the benefits of debt swapping and debt relief schemes, and a state with a special category status are exempted from the custom duty, corporate tax and income tax and other tax to the attract investments. So special category states have the facility that if they have unspent money in a financial year, it does not lapse and gets carry forward for the next financial year. So 30% of the central gross budget also goes to the special category states, and these states can avail these benefits to debt swapping and debt relief scheme, and states with a special category states are exempted from the custom duty, corporate tax and income tax and other taxes of the attract investments. So now tropical cyclone Gulab recently made landfall on the eastern coastal of India is named by the Pakistan. So the cyclone Gulab recently made landfall on India east coast. Gulab was a tropical cyclone and was named by the Pakistan. So cyclone affected the coastal south of Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. It's made landfall triggering heavy rains along with the strong wind over north coastal Andhra Pradesh and adjoining south coastal Odisha. It comes under the category of the cyclonic storm according to the IMD. Next is consider the following statement regarding the Digi Saksham program seen recently in the news. So it is launched by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Digi Saksham is not that, but it is seen to seek to provide a free of cost training in the digital skills to the 3 lakh youth of the country. The job seeker can access the training through the National Career Service Portal. So digital skill and National Career Service Portal is there, but it is launched by the Ministry of Electronics. This is not true. Digi Saksham is a digital skill program launched by the Ministry of Labour and Employment, and so the Digi Saksham initiative free of cost training in the digital skill including the basic skill as well as advanced computing will be provided to more than 3 lakh youth in the first year, and job seeker can access the training through the National Career Service Portal. An initiative gives priority to the job seeker of semi-urban area and belonging to disadvantaged community, including those who have lost their jobs due to the COVID-19. So under Digi Saksham initiative, there will be the basically 3 types of initiative: digital skill and learning and VLT more training, and virtual instruct led like more training and instruct led. The training which is a person training would be the conducted at the Model Career Center and National Career Service Center SCST across the country. So next is the Sacred Portal is launched by the tribal. So the senior rebel citizen for the employed in the dignity. So the portal is developed by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Citizen above 60 years of age can register on the portal and find the jobs work opportunity. The employment portal will serve not only the senior citizen but also the employee, the self help group, the senior citizen gaining skills and agency, and more than 50% senior citizens are found active, and the LASI reports many senior citizens having experience, time and energy can be used by the business enterprises looking to stable employee in the experience. So it's a sacred portal for the tribals. Aipan, which recently GI taken traditional art belonging to its Uttarakhand. So Aipan is art in the an established ritualistic folk art originated from the Kuamong in the Uttarakhand. So Aipam is in the Uttarakhand, and it's a art done mainly during the special occasion, household ceremony and rituals. Precaution believe that it invoke a divine power which bring about the good fortune and deserve evil and deter evils. So actual art is done with the white paste made of the rich floor. The art is the frequent to floor and wall of the puja room and entrance of the home. It is also practiced mostly the Kumayuni women, and it's a GI take for the 7 indigenous of the Uttarakhand. With reference to the least developed country reports, consider the following statements. So least developed country reports, there is it's by the UNESCO, that's not true. It's designed 45 least developed country, and countries represent less than 10% of the world average. So only B is the answer. It's developed by the UNCTAD. So the we can say that least developed countries report is released recently by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. The reports called for the increased investment and productive capability, and UNCTAD defined productive capacity as the productive resource, entrepreneurship and the production link that together determine the country capacity in the produce goods and service and enable it grow the and develop. So UN established least developed 50 years ago. The grouping of the world's weakest economy has expanded from an initiative 25 countries, peaking 52, and with only 6 countries progressive enough to no longer be considered. These 6 countries are Botswana, Cabo Verde, Ecuador, Guyana, and Maldives, and Samoa and Vanuatu. So the number of the LDC has been 46, and LDC experience more frequent instead of growth collapse than other group of countries. The reports reflect the gross domestic product per capita for the LDC group represented less than 10% of the world average, and according to the report, this was even lower than 1971, and when their GDP capital is 15%. So only 7 LDC, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar have consistently output the world average GDP per capita more than 1%, and therefore have convergence toward the standard of living of higher income country. Next is, which of the following favorable condition of the formation intensification of tropical cyclone? So large area of sea, large variation in the vertical winds and absence of Coriolis force. So one is the true. Large sea surface, large variation in the vertical winds is not there. So large sea surface of the temperature 26.7, presence of Coriolis force, not the absence of Coriolis force, and create a cyclonic vortex. Small variation in the vertical winds, small variation, not the large variation. So the small variation will be there, and the pre-existing weak low pressure area will be there, and low level cyclonic circulation and small variation in the wind speed. Pre-existing weak low surface area, low level of cyclonics, and upper divergence above the sea level system. With reference to the concept of public interest litigation, consider the following statements. So Justice P.N. Bhagwati was the pioneer of the concept, and it is filed by the benefits of general public. It can file only in the Supreme Court. That's not true. High Court and Supreme Court. But so public interest litigation is the use for the law to advance human rights and equality or raise the issue of broad public concern. In India, the public interest litigation is product of the judicial activism role of the Supreme Court. It was introduced in the earlier 1980. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer and Justice P.N. Bhagwati were the pioneer of the concept. It can be filed only in the Supreme Court or in the High Court, and PIL both before the court, not for the purpose of enforcing the right of one individual against another happen in the case of ordinary litigation, but it intended to promote and vindicate the public interest, and the role held the court, it is more assertive than in the traditional action. It is creative rather than passive and assume the more positive attitude toward determining the acts. So PIL courts enjoy a degree of flexibility to the trial of traditional private law litigation. Whatever the procedure adopted the court, it must be procedure no to judicial tenets and characters of judicial proceeding. With the ethanol production, it's in India, ethanol is primarily produced by using the maize. Ethanol example is first generation biofuel, and India has set target 20% of the blending. So only two in the answer. India set the targets. Sugar is the all of the beverage, like ethanol is the half of the industrial ethanol. It's still made by this process. This simple sugar are the raw material. Internationally, sugarcane, sweet sorghum is the use for production of ethanol, and maize, wheats and other cereal contain the starch can be easily converted to the sugar. In India, ethanol is primarily produced using the sugarcane and molasses. This is example of first generation biofuel that use the biomass containing the large amount of sugar of material can be converted to the sugar such as starch for the generation of ethanol. The use of ethanol can be fuel in there is how much percent blending is there? 20% of ethanol blending in petrol in 2025, and it will roll out the 2023. So 20% blending is not there, but it's also released expert committee to roadmap ethanol blending in India, and the roadmap propose a gradual rollout of the ethanol blended fuel to the achieve fuel supply by the April and phase roll out the E20 of 23. Now, with reference to the foreign contribution regulation, it consider the following. So it is the imperative Ministry of Finance Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. FCRA is Ministry of Finance. No, it act a Aadhaar number mandatory for all officer, bearer, director of, or key functionary of the person receiving foreign contribution as an identification document. That's is true, but Ministry of Finance is not true. Okay, so there is the foreign contribution person in India regulated by FCRA Act and implemented Ministry of Home Affairs, not by the Ministry of Finance Affairs. So Foreign Contribution Regulation Act is the for the Ministry of Finance Affairs, and its act ensure that the recipient of foreign contribution adhere to the stated purpose of which such contribution has been obtained, and under the act organizations required to register and renew themselves into 5 years. The act bars public servants from the receiving foreign contribution, and act prohibit the transfer of foreign contribution to any other person not registered to the accept foreign contribution, and act make Aadhaar number mandatory for bearer, director of key functionary of the person receiving the foreign contribution, identification of documents, and foreign contribution must be received only in the account residing to the Bank of FCRA account in such branches of State Bank of India, New Delhi. Now, Weddell Sea. Weddell Sea is the South Ocean. So the Weddell Sea is the part of the Southern Ocean in Gyre. So its boundaries are defined by the bay from the coast of coastland Antarctica Peninsula. The sea is contained within the two overlapping in Antarctica and Argentina Antarctica territory, and also resides partially within the Antarctica Chilean territory. Which of the following country is not in the list of least developed country? So it's a Maldives is not in the least developed country. Rest Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar are in the least developed country. So that least developed countries are list of the developing countries according to the United Nations explained lower indicator of socio-economic development with the lowest human development index. So least developed countries reviewed the 3-year committee of the UN Economic and Social Council ECOSOC is LDC classification when indicator exceed their criteria 2 consecutive year. So since least developed country was initiated, 6 country has graduated developing status. The country graduate status of Botswana, and second country Cape Verde, and Maldives graduated developing country, and Samoa is in the equatorial Guinea and Vanuatu. Now consider the following statement. Amrut. So Amrut is the water supply all the 4-7 village and provide 100% coverage sewerage, and so A is one, but it's not providing the 100% coverage of sewerage and septage in the all urban bodies. So Amrut launched the first water focus mission on the total mission of outlay 1 lakh crore, and its 500 major cities are 60% urban population. So Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs is the nodal agency. Amrut 100% coverage of water supply to all household in the 4700. Okay, water supply is 100%, but Amrut there is 100% coverage of sewerage and septage also. So it's asking the Ministry of Tourism. So tourism is not the answer first of all. Okay, and to promote the circular economy, water. So the formulation city a water balance plan for the each city, focusing on the recycle, reuse, sewage rejuvenation, water body and water conservation. Digital economy promote the so the being paperless mission seek to promote the Atmanirbhar Bharat and startup entrepreneurship. promotion of gig economy, onboarding youth and women, urban water information, and will be developed, leading to aquifer management system. Amrut a step towards the new urban India to make the Atmanirbhar water secure. So B is also not there because all urban cities are not in that for the sewerage. Okay, 500 cities are there. Now, which of the following are the correct regarding the Ganges river dolphins? So it's a Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna river, and it's listed critically, not it's only endangered, I think. So Ganges river dolphin is the species of toothed whale, is classified by the family of Platatia. It's leave the Gange, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and Karnfuli Sagu river, Bangladesh and India, and Saptakoshi and Karnali river, Nepal. The Gange river dolphin favor deep pool, and it's located downstream of the river, sharp meandering, reliable indicator of the health and entire river ecosystem, national aquatic animal by the government of India. Consider the following statement regarding the tax inspector without border program launched recently. It is the initiative of World Bank's tax inspector, no, and support the country building the tax audit cabinet. So it's a tax inspector without borders joint initiative, Organization of Economic Development OECD and the United Nations Development Program, and it's building the tax audit, and it's not World Bank. First of all, communities and cooperative tax matters and contribute to the domestic resources mobilization effort to developing country. The Langa and the Mangniyar, it's in Rajasthan. So the Langa and Mangniyar are hereditary community of Muslim residing mostly in the West Rajasthan, Jaisalmer and Barmer, and Pakistan, Tharpankar and the Shangar district, Sindh. The music of the two marginalized community who were supported by the wealthy landlord and the merchant before the independence form a vital part of the desert cultural landscape. Which of the following country is not a origin signatory of the Antarctica Treaty? So it's Italy. Antarctica Treaty was a sign between 12 countries of Washington and for the making Antarctica country as a demilitarized zone, so preserving the scientific research. So 12 original signatory of Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, United Soviet, UK and US. India became the member of this treaty in 1983, promoting the freedom of scientific research, peaceful purpose and prohibition of military activity, neutralization, territory sovereignty and means limit was placed, the making a new claim for enlargement of existing claim. It put the freeze of the dispute between the claimants over the territory on the continent. 30 anniversary of the sign the protocol, environment protocol, Madrid protocol, Antarctica treaty. So it was not signatory of Italy. Rest Argentina, Norway, New Zealand is there. Okay, now next, consider the following about the net present value of the forest. It is mandatory one-time payment that as a user has to make for the diverting for foresight for the non-forest use. These payment go to the compensatory afforestation. It is mandatory under the Environment Protection Act 1986. So it's Environment Protection Act 1980, not 86. So it is mandatory one-time payment, and user has to make the privating forest and non-forest use under the Forest Conservation Act. This is calculated on the basis of service of ecological value of forest. It depends on the location and nature of the forest and the type of industrial enterprise that will replace the particular parcel of forest. These payments go to the compulsory afforestation fund and can be used afforestation and forest advisory committee. The committee constitutes Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change decided to whether forest can be diverted to project, and it is statutory constituted by the Forest Conservation Act 1980. As per the release by Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network released recently, which of the following conditions threat the survival? Ocean acidification, warmer sea temperature, algal bloom. All of the three are there. So it's a coral reef monitoring networks. The world lost 14% of the coral reef, and coral reefs across the world are the under relentless stage from the warming caused by the climate change. Coral bleaching events caused by the rise in the elevated sea surface temperature were responsible for the coral loss, and large scale coral bleaching events were responsible for killing 8% of the world's corals, and this is the equivalent to the more than coral than currently living in the reef in the Caribbean, Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. So ocean acidification, warmer sea temperature, local stress such as the overfishing, pollution, unsustainable tourism, poor coastal management are there, and analysis found that the amount of the algal on the world's coral reef have increased by the 20%. Algal bloom on the coral reef sign the stress on the structure and average there was a twice as much coral on the worst, and the worst hit was the coral South Asia, Australia, Pacific, East Asia, Western India and Gulf of Oman. Which of the following is the coral triangle? So it's a Indonesia and Philippines, which is in the coral triangle. Indonesia and Philippines. Singapore is not there. So coral triangle is marine area in the western Pacific Ocean. It includes the water Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Timor, Leste and Solomon. So named its strategic number coral is the Specie reef building coral and region nurtures 6 of the world's 7 marine turtle species and 2000 Specie reef fish. The coral triangle also support large population of commonly important tuna, fueling and multi-billion-dollar global tuna. So it's a coral triangle is rely on the coral reef foods and income of the protecting the storms. So it is in the Indonesia and Philippines, not in the Singapore. Okay, next is Adayur chili and Kutayur mango, which is the GI tag. So it's in Kerala. So Adayur chili and the Kutayur mango is recently GI tag, belong to the state of Kerala. Low pungency is the unique character of the Adayur chili, and Kutayur mango is the popular, the tasty traditional mango Kutayur and their Grama Panchayat are Kannur district, North Kerala. Which of the following is incorrect regarding the contribution of Shyama Krishna Verma India freedom struggle? So he participated actively in the civil disobedience movement. So the Shyama Krishna Verma was the revolutionary fighter and the Indian patriotic lawyer and journalist. Shyama Krishna Verma founded the Indian Home Rule Society, India House, and Indian Socialist in London. The monthly Indian Socialists become outlet of the nationalist idea through Indian Home Rule Society. He criticized the British rule in India. Shyama Krishna Verma, who became the first president of Bombay Arya Samaj, was the admitted Dayanand Saraswati and the inspired the Veer Savarkar, who was a member of the India, and Verma also served the Diwan of number of India. So Krishna Verma moved to the avoiding the prosecution. Now, which of the following coal sector of India, consider the following statements? So India is the second largest importer of the coal. Second largest importer. India is the largest consumer of the coal. That's not true. But second largest importer, definitely India mainly imports from China. That's not true. So Coal Ministry of India is the second largest importer, consumer and producer of the coal. Has world fourth largest reserve. It mainly imports Indonesia, Australia and South Africa. Coal is India's world largest coal mining company by the production of account for over 80% of India's output. India utility currents scrambling to secure coal supply and critical supply demands sluggish imports, global price, and Coal Ministry is India as the state of coal India diversified in interest areas such as the electrical vehicle and charging station.